Okay, so we see that arrows representing two vectors in R2 can represent the sum of two vectors, either by drawing the vectors head to tail or by drawing a parallelogram, completely equivalent idea of the sum. Okay, what about the multiple of a number and a vector? Okay, well, let's say here's the vector W. Now let's draw the vector 2W. Okay? Now we're going to define that simply as a vector that's twice as long as W and running along the same line. So it's got to go in the same direction, but it's got to be twice as long. And of course we could see that as W plus W. 2W equals W plus W, where we've done W head to tail with itself. Okay, so here's our vector. W. Okay, and of course if we had vector 5W, we do the same thing. Now with fractions, you know, what would 1/2 W be? Well, that'd be the vector which when you add it itself twice, and when you add two of them, give you the vector W. So it'd be a vector half as long as W. That would be easy enough to do. Now we could go further into formal properties. What would the vector negative W be? Well, that would be a vector that we add to 2W to get W. Because you have 2W to negative W, you want to get W. And if here's 2W, what would we add to 2W? What would we do head to tail with 2W? So let's say here's 2W. If we do negative W, and I draw that a little bit offset, I mean it really should be along exactly the same line as W, but I offset it just a little bit so we can see both vectors. Then the resultant of that goes, well, from the initial to the terminal point here, then head to tail with this one. From the initial point of the first vector to the terminal point of the last vector. Would be W. So here's an example of the fact that 2W plus the vector negative W equals the vector W, so that negative W is a vector in the direction opposite W, same length. So that means a negative sign takes the vector in the opposite direction. So negative multiple of W I'll say points in the opposite direction. So now what if I wanted to do negative 3W? Okay, how would I do that? Well, I draw a vector 3 times as long as W in the opposite direction. Okay, I would have a negative W and a negative W and a negative W. That would take me in the opposite direction. So whatever number we put in front of W makes W that many times longer. And if we put a number less than 1, well, like 0.3, well, it becomes 0.3 times. Its length changes by a factor of 0.3. Let's put it this way. So whatever number's in front of W, its length changes by that factor, and if the number's negative, it goes in the opposite direction. That's not too hard to understand. Okay, now I ask myself, is there multiple, or actually are there multiples of, let's say, U and W that equal 4V? Okay? Now, I said, is there a multiple? I should have said, are there multiples? Get rid of the word a, change the word is to are. Are there multiples of W and U that add up to 3V? So think about that question. That's going to be in the next video.